importance of the democratic center in politics and your experience of this?
Let me begin by acknowledging that this is not the best time to be a centrist in the world. If you look at recent American elections, or British elections, or if you look at Colombia's elections 2 days ago, it is the case that most elections are polarized, and that candidates of the extreme right and the extreme left do very well. Even in France, which just re-elected a centrist for the presidency 3 weeks ago, this past weekend's elections saw a big surge forward of the far left and the far right. So yes, we centrists, we liberal reformers are struggling. But politics is cyclical, and I think at some point, after a sequence of disastrous left-wing and right-wing governments, of too much ideology, of too much demagoguery, of too much populism, there will be a demand for an adult in the room. That's one way to interpret Joe Biden's arrival to the presidency. He wasn't the youngest or most dynamic or most innovative of leaders, but but Americans say, enough of this madness, enough of this, post-truth crazy world. We want somebody who's sensible. Now, we cannot simply hope, we centrists, we cannot hope that the only way to get into power is that, when voters just get tired of the other guy. We have to have something that we stand for. And I believe that in addition to the commitment to these liberties and these concepts of human dignity that are very central and that you and I were just talking about, there is a policy agenda, which I think is distinctively centrist. We were talking about fiscal affairs. There is a conservative world which thinks that any fiscal deficit is bad at any time. There is an MMT world which thinks that all fiscal deficits are fine regardless of size or circumstance. Reasonable centrists know that both of those positions make no sense. Fiscal policy is not a religious matter, and fiscal policy is a practical matter. And during a pandemic, during a big crisis, there's of course room for a much more aggressive, much more expansionary fiscal policy. But once the pandemic ends, you've got to put your foot on the brake.